everyone and welcome back to my channel. This time we are in my office because it is the only room in my apartment in which I can film without feeling way too hot. So as you know from the title of this video, this is going to be my summer book haul, which is quite huge. I mean, this is just half of it. I also have a bunch of books coming that I haven't received yet, but I'm going to do this video anyway now because it's books that I've been ordering a little bit of now and again, so they won't be arriving until August, and I really wanted to get this video up. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to run through all the books I've bought this summer, and I'm going to start with the books I haven't received yet, and then later move on to the physical copies I have over here. They look so tempting and I want to pick them up and read them right away, but I'm obviously going to restrain myself. The books I haven't received yet are, first of all, The Summer Wives by Beatrice Williams. I wanted this book because it's been going around, it has a gorgeous cover, and it deals with family dynamics during a summer on this island. That's all I really know, but that was enough to intrigue me, and I hope that I will receive this book sooner rather than later so that I can actually read it over summer. But I actually don't know too much about this one. This is one of the spur of the moment purchases I did online. I just wanted the book and then I got it. That goes for most of the books in this haul. I'm already way too hot and sweaty. Next is Self-Portrait with Boys by Rachel Lyon. Now this one also has a gorgeous cover, and this one is about a woman who is a photographer, I believe in New York City, but it could be another city. One day she takes a photo that also captures a boy falling out of a window, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's it. This photo becomes world famous and people judge it and judge her for the fact that she actually published it before his death. I think it's something to do with that, but I'm not too sure. After all, this is a book haul and I haven't even received the book yet, so I will read it and I will find out. I recently did a video in which I read a chapter from some books that I ended up liking and wanting to read the whole book of. One of the books I decided to get for myself is The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. This book had a very intriguing first chapter. It's set in Ireland during World War II, and even though the first chapter is not very much about our protagonist, it's more about his mother, I still got the feeling that this would be a book for me. I also believe that the protagonist in this novel is gay, and so it becomes this romance story set in Ireland in the 1940s. If the rest of the book is as good as the first chapter, I'm definitely in for a great read, also according to so many other people who've already read this book. Next we have Cloud Street by Tim Winton. This is a book that a lovely viewer of mine recommended to me recently, and I looked into it and I found the plot to be very intriguing because it is about this family who struggles in America, but they decide to take in another family to help them and to provide shelter for them. It's supposed to be this epic American classic, which I'm a huge fan of. I love those kinds of big books that drag me in and make me feel like I can stay in this very interesting world for pages and pages. So I think it's a pretty huge book, but it's also one that comes with an epic drama and a story that appealed to me when I read the synopsis, so I got that one as well. Then we have Forever Amber by Kathleen Winsor. Now this has got to be the hugest book I have bought so far this summer because this is about 1,000 pages. You can't see it from the picture, but I promise you once I receive it, I will show it to you naturally, and you will see that it's one of those books that you can actually punch someone with if you want to, not that I want to. So this is a book I heard about through Andrew's channel, Ange from Beyond the Pages, and once I heard about it I immediately went online to purchase it because that's how weak I am during the summer break. I always find myself buying way too many books over summer because I have a lot of time off to just have fun and go crazy on my book buying online. So I did that again this year. But this book sounds very interesting because it's historical fiction about Amber, who lives in London during the Great Fire and during the plague and during a lot of very epic moments of history. It's about this Amber who is very resilient. She is not your everyday typical girl from that era, and I like that. So naturally, I haven't read it yet, and it's a 1,000-page book, as I was saying. This is one that I'm actually so interested in that I really wish I had it in my hands right now, but of course I will have to wait, and then once I receive it, I might actually save it for autumn or winter, because it seems like that perfect grand and big novel for that time of the year. Then I made a rather silly purchase, which I don't regret at all, but I'm not saying I needed this book, I just wanted it, because I bought another version of The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. I bought the 50th anniversary edition, which is stunning. I've had my eyes on it for a year now, I think, but I haven't bought it because I already own 2 copies of this book, so I don't really need that extra 3rd copy, but I bought it anyway because now was the time to do so. I just couldn't help myself anymore. I wanted it, I got it, and now I can't wait to have it in my hands and reread it at some point in the future. I mean, that cover, isn't that absolutely gorgeous? You have to agree with me. Next we have The Hoarder by Jess Kidd, another book that's been going around on BookTube. And to begin with, I actually thought that this was a fantasy novel. I feel like the cover screams fantasy, but then I realized that it's not a fantasy at all. It's about this man who is a hoarder, and then it's about this woman who works as a helper for the elderly people, so she drives around and helps people who need the help. One day she comes to this house, which is very great and kind of mysterious, and she enters it and she realizes that this old man lives alone. He's a hoarder, and his house also has got some kind of paranormal activity going on. I might be mistaken about this, but something to do with saints and spirits. I think that's what it's about. So that one is coming for me in the mail as well. Then we have a non-fiction book, which when I saw the cover and read the synopsis, I knew that I had to get this one. This one is called Teacher, One Woman's Struggle to Keep the Heart in Teaching by Gabby Stroud. This book has just been released, and since I'm a teacher myself, I am naturally drawn to it. I mean, it's a non-fiction book about being a teacher, and I believe the struggles that come with that profession. I can relate to that, but it's also a book that I think tries to talk about all the positives about this job and how rewarding it is, which I can also relate to. So I think it's going to be a great read. We will have to wait and see, but that's one non-fiction book in this haul, and I actually believe it might be my only non-fiction book this summer, or at least in this haul. Next we have The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. I really wanted to get this book in hardback, but it was out of print, so I got it in paperback. So this book sounds so good. It's one that I'm definitely going to save for Christmas, I think, because this one is about I now have forgotten. It's about this woman and this house, and then there is a doll in this house that can see you and hear you and feel you. Actually, I've completely forgotten the synopsis now. Let me just look it up. Yeah, so this book is about this figure in the house that very much resembles the protagonist of this book. That's mysterious enough, but then one day our protagonist realizes that the doll's eyes follow her wherever she goes. That sounds so creepy, which is why I think I'm going to save it for, I said Christmas, but I mean more like Halloween and November, because it sounds like a typical eerie read that will be great for that time of the year. And I really hope that the paperback is as gorgeous as the hardback once I receive it. I told you I had a lot of books coming for me. I'm not done yet. Next we have The Monk of Mocha by Dave Eggers, another book that a wonderful viewer recommended to me because it's got to do with coffee, and it's by Dave Eggers, who also wrote The Circle, and I love that book, so I was naturally interested in reading this one as well, which is a pretty new release. It's about a man who starts working with coffee, planting it and harvesting it. I believe that's it. And then it's about some kind of a struggle, and it's also got to do with a revolution, I think. I might be completely mistaken, but the coffee and the author had me hooked from the beginning, so that was enough to make me buy the book. Also another very stunning cover, I think. Okay, so that was all the non-physical books which I have coming for me. I forgot to mention that I think that after this July month of making videos every single day, I'm going to take the rest of summer off and not do that many videos. So the reason why I'm doing this haul already is also because I know that you will see the books in an upcoming reading vlog once I receive them and once I read them. So even though I haven't all the books with me here, you will see them in upcoming videos, I promise you. Let's move on to some of the physical books. The first one I have here is one I've already shown you in my previous reading vlog. This is A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles, a book about a man who is hidden in a hotel during a revolution in Moscow, and then it's about his days in this hotel, and that's all I know. But what I get from the synopsis and from people's reviews is that this is a very cozy read and an epic read as well, which will blow your mind. And it's a book that seems to be a lot of people's favorites, so I'm very interested to get to this one at some point. I obviously also had to get The Book of Essie by Megan McLean Weir, another book from my Try a Chapter video. I discovered it when I read the first chapter, and I knew I had to read the rest of the book, and I wanted the physical copy. This one has got deckled edges, which I'm a huge fan of. This book is about a family that has its own reality TV show in America, but the family is very religious, and in the very first chapter we hear about our protagonist who is pregnant, and her mother discusses with the TV crew whether she should be allowed to have the baby or not, whether she should have an abortion or give it away, because apparently it's not her own choice. Another book from that video I had to get is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. So this is the first book in a duology. If I like this book a lot, I am going to purchase the second book as well, obviously. But I read the first chapter from this one and was very much intrigued. It's an adult fantasy novel that deals with a very evil protagonist, more evil than you are used to in your everyday fantasy stories, I think. I also got that from the first chapter, that this was a protagonist who wasn't your ordinary girl. She was more of a dark figure, and I really like that. It's also a book that's very popular, so I'm glad to finally own it and read it at some point after I've read all of the other books. Recently I read In the Woods by Tana French, and I really liked it. So I got the second book in the series. This is a crime series, by the way, and this is The Likeness by Tana French. So this series is set in Ireland, and it follows this crew of detectives, so that each book follows another person from that crew, which I really like the concept of. And in this book we follow Cassie. If you read the first book, you know who I'm talking about. Cassie was one of my favorite characters from the first book, so I'm definitely interested to dive into this one, which is actually pretty huge. It's a 500-page book. I don't mind at all. I'm just saying that I was surprised, but it's one that I'm very interested to read, and I'm looking forward to it. Whether I will read it very soon, maybe I will, or come autumn, come winter. I naturally can't get to all of these books in 1 month, unfortunately. Then we have one book which I obviously had to get. Anne Tyler's newest release, Clock Dance. This one has just been released, I believe, this month. I don't know what it's about. I didn't have to know, because I love Anne Tyler. I've read about 7 or 8 of her novels and loved every one of them, almost. There is one novel I didn't particularly love, but nevertheless I was interested to get this one right away, and I couldn't tell you anything about the book, but maybe it's about 2 girls and their childhood. That's what I get from the cover, at least, and it's a pretty gorgeous hardback, I think. I know Anne Tyler gives us amazing family dramas, so I'm in for that once I pick up this novel. I forgot about another non-fiction book I also have in this haul, and that is I Am 17 Brushes with Death by Maggie O'Farrell. I have read one novel by Maggie O'Farrell called, I can't remember. I'll put a picture of it up here. But that book was really good, and I've since then heard amazing things about this account of hers, which is about her own life and her own brushes with death, which has happened to her a lot apparently. I've never read a book about death and encountering death, so this is going to be an interesting read. I was definitely drawn to it once I heard that so many people loved it, and since I already know a little bit of the author and also want to read more of her many books out there, I thought that this was a good place to continue. But we will have to wait and see if I like it or not. I'm pretty sure I will after all. We are almost to the bottom of this haul. I did tell you there was about 30 books in it. Next we have The Puppy War by Ive Kwang. I had to get this because it's once again one of those books that I read the first chapter from in my Try a Chapter video. This one was definitely compelling. So compelling that I've been thinking a lot about it since then, and I think that I don't even have to read the first chapter again because it's in my head and I, as I said, keep thinking about it. This is another adult fantasy novel, which I believe is going to be a series, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. It's about a protagonist who is a woman, and in the beginning of the book we meet her as she goes through this test that will define the rest of her life. So it's very important that she succeeds in this test so that she can continue on with her life the way she wants. It's set in a country which very much reflects Japan or India. I'm not sure yet, but I will read it and find out. Next we have, well, I went to the groceries the other day and sometimes they have some books there and sometimes those books are on sale. I found this one on sale. This one was the price of almond milk, which was ridiculously low. So I immediately snapped it up. This is the third book in Jojo Moyes series. The first book is Me... Hi Siri! I missed you. The first book is called Me Before You. The second one is called After You, which I also have coming in the mail for me, so that's another book for my book haul. And then we have the third book here, which is called Still Me. I do own all 3 books in Danish, so I will have to check. Yeah, Still Me in English. I really liked Me Before You. I just know that when I'm in the mood for a nice romantic read, then Jojo Moyes is the way to go. She never disappoints me. I don't think I have ever read a book by her that I absolutely hated. So that's setting the standard a little bit low, but I mean, she is great entertainment and she is candy for your heart, which is good sometimes to read. So here we have the third book, and as I said, the second book is coming for me in the mail. Then we have another Danish book, which I'm not sure you will have heard about, but let me just show it to you. This is 1968 by Jan Guillou. I believe this author is Swedish. He has written this series consisting of now 7 books. This is the 7th one. I have read the first 6 books. I have them on my shelves and I have loved them. They are historical fiction following generations of families so that we get to really know these characters and follow them as they grow older and have their own kids, and then we follow those kids, and meanwhile we also are told about what happens in the world while they are growing up in Denmark, in Sweden, but also in the world in general. So I'm very intrigued to continue on with this series and read this latest installment of his. And that leads me to the very last book, which is one I have already shown you in a previous vlog, but nevertheless I will show it to you again because this is Killing Commander Tora by Haruki Murakami, one of my most anticipated releases of this year. The thing is that this book is in Danish, and it was only until after I had bought it that I realized that this is only book 1. So we have another book coming which won't be out in Denmark until November, but that's fine. I've read this one now. I am eager to finish the series and read the second book once it comes out, but I will have to wait for a little bit. But at least we've got the first book here and I think it looks pretty stunning. So that's another one to go with my Haruki Murakami collection. I forgot about some books. I thought I had finished, but no. I also have this book, which I have hauled already. I've now ordered the second and third book in this series. So we have the Batman book, The Nightwalker. Okay, let me just check. Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu, as well as Catwoman Soul Stealer by Sarah J Maas. Both books, well, the second book has been out for a little while and the third book has just been released, or it's about to be released. So those are coming for me in the mail as well. These are fun young adult adventure stories based on different superhero characters. The first one was based on Wonder Woman and I really liked it. I found it to be very entertaining and I was surprised that I liked it as much as I did. So I'm pretty interested to continue on and see if I will like the other books as well, which are after all by other very famous authors. And now I promise you that was it. So thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope you enjoyed this huge haul, which I could only show you half of, but then as I said, I will show you the rest of the books as I receive them and read them. Thank you so much for watching this video, and until my next one, happy reading!